When you launch up a multiplayer game, most people want to be the best player either in that room or that lobby, whether it's a game that's designed to have a competitive edge in mind, or just a game that's total shithousery. We all want to be the best at it and win. Some players may opt for a choice that'll give them an advantage over everyone else, as that'll give them a better chance at winning. And this philosophy is no more apparent than in fighting games, and in this case, Super Smash Bros. Players flock to the best characters, as their strengths massively outweigh their weaknesses, as it's only natural that the best characters give you the best chance of winning. Competitive players won't typically choose weaker characters, as they're much less likely to help you win. In these situations, there'll be characters that are overrepresented in the metagame, and others who are underrepresented. And that's when developers might consider it's time for a balance patch. For this video, I want to talk about one character I think was very underrepresented early on, but through buffs allow them to become a lot more relevant, and that's Diddy Kong. So, today, I'm going to talk about Diddy Kong, and as the title suggests, why I believe him to be the most buffed character in Smash Ultimate. If you're into competitive Smash, then you'll likely be aware that Diddy Kong was considered to be one of the best characters in both Brawl and Smash 4. A big reason for this was because of his down special, Banana. Banana was a projectile that could be thrown at a relatively safe distance, and allowed him to follow up with something if it hit. This could typically be a combo starter, or even a kill confirm. This meant he had a very strong neutral and was able to maintain stage control well. Diddy could also reliably kill, had fantastic throws, and had a strong disadvantage option with Monkey Flip. And, in early Smash 4, who could forget the iconic...
And there it is.
So yeah, he was pretty broken in both games. Coming into Ultimate however, Diddy was gutted pretty hard. His kit remained relatively similar to what it was in Smash 4, but there were some pretty big changes. His hitboxes on moves such as forward air and back air were much less generous. There were knockback nerfs on moves such as down smash and up smash, the latter of which was one of, if not the weakest up smash in the game at the time. He was made lighter, which impacts his survivability, and his recovery basically sent him nowhere. You can see why players swiftly regarded him to be significantly worse than his previous two iterations, as his toned down moveset just made the character a lot less consistent. Hey, at least they buffed Banana's property so now it's transcendent. If something has a transcendent property, then it cannot be cancelled out by other hitboxes. So in previous games, moves were able to stop Banana, where in this game it flies straight through them. A very favoured buff, but unfortunately his flaws very much outweighed his strengths. As expected, these changes impacted Diddy's usage in tournaments, and within the first few months of Smash Ultimate, he was one of the less used characters who saw little success. Many top players who used Diddy in Smash 4 opted to main other characters who were perceived a lot stronger. Sakurai and the gang were quick to realise Diddy was pretty underrepresented, and gave him some solid buffs, such as changes to dash attack and neutral air, making them better combo moves. His up smash received significantly more knockback, now making it a great KO move, and his recovery was altered, so he now falls slower when charging his up B, and the move also travels further vertically, which massively improves his survivability. There was also the discovery of an infinite, which was dubbed the Pyramid Scheme. In Smash, an infinite is a combo route that is inescapable for the opponent and can be continuously prolonged. For Diddy, he was able to hit someone with the banana pull just below the platform, then recatch it, hitting them again, and then just rinse and repeating this setup until the opponent was at a high enough percent to be killed. The most famous example of this was at Genesis 7, where Darkmoon used the infinite to beat Europe's best player, Gluttony. Despite all these buffs and the discovery of an infinite, players still felt pretty underwhelmed by Diddy compared to the rest of the cast, with most players still considering him a mid-tier in early 2020. If you've seen some of my other retrospectives, you know how this story goes. The dreaded COVID pandemic hit, which means for a lot of characters, there was a drastic shift in their meta, and for Diddy Kong, that was no different. A contributor to this was that in July 2020, Nintendo released patch 8.0.0, giving Diddy even more buffs. Forward tilt and forward air now have bigger hitboxes, each hit of his dash attack now combo together more reliably, and his down smash has less startup and cooldown. However, they gave more end lag to his banana pull, meaning his infinite, the Pyramid Scheme, was removed. A very healthy nerf, because as we all know, being on the receiving end of infinites can make you, well, sad. Let's not forget that Diddy Kong is also a very strong ledge trapper. Whilst his ledge trapping game was decent at the start of Ultimate, the buffs he received in the patches really contributed to making his ledge trapping game even more polarising. Neutral air now being a better combo tool means he has an easier time to reset ledge trap situations, due to how reliably you can connect into forward air or back air. And also stronger smash attacks just mean he's going to kill earlier, which is always welcomed. Finally, I just want to briefly bring up his side special, Monkey Flip Kick. The move has never been altered, but it's always been strong due to the fact the Diddy Kong player can choose to use it as a command grab to beat shield, or use it as an active hitbox to beat out aggressive approaches. We're not done yet. It can also catch landings, help him recover. It can even do this. Yeah, it's just a pretty good move if you ask me. Alongside these improvements to his kit, one of the best Smash Ultimate players in the world, Tweak, shifted focus to playing Diddy Kong, who further developed his meta, showcasing Diddy's extensive combo potential and how strong his stage control game really was. Because of this, Diddy was perceived a lot more positively, with many players thinking he was better than the mid-tier. But with us still being in a pandemic, it was hard to know how good Diddy really was. Yeah, Diddy Kong was pretty good actually. Following the pandemic, Tweak was able to win the first major, Smash Ultimate Summit 3, beating many of the world's best players using primarily Diddy Kong. Aaron was another player who was also able to achieve top 8 at the same tournament using the same character. These results really helped cement his placement in the meta, and further helped back up the positive perception he had received during the online period. Tweak continued to spearhead the Diddy Kong meta, achieving multiple strong results using the character. As of the recording of this video, Diddy is currently ranked 8th on the most recent Smash Ultimate tier list. In previous tier lists, he was ranked 12th and 9th, and whilst these aren't significant rises by any means, Diddy has continued to be a very highly rated character following the pandemic, and seemingly he is just getting better and better. He was also the 14th most used character in bracket in the latter half of 2024, which really does highlight how much of a rise Diddy has had since the start of Smash Ultimate. So we've discussed his moveset and representation in tournaments, but how does he stack up matchup wise against the rest of the cast? I've asked a couple of Diddy Kong players and they've given me the rundown. He does very well versus strong top tier characters like Pyro Mithra and Roy due to how overwhelming his neutral can be and his safe buttons on their shields. They don't really have a consistent answer to deal with Diddy Kong in neutral, and often get stuffed out as a result. Also, landing can be pretty difficult, as if Diddy has a banana in hand, he can usually just wait for the landing option, throw a banana, and win the situation. This game plan is pretty consistent versus a good amount of the cast, which gives him a pretty solid matchup spread overall. He's also strong versus a more meta-relevant character than ever, Min Min. Min Min's neutral is very horizontal, as the angle she can move her arms is very limited. This makes diagonal pressure difficult for Min Min to deal with, as she has to commit with a jump in order to cover this space. This issue can make approaches and pressure a bit easier for Diddy. This is because he can short up monkey flip kick to get over it, and use the flip kick hitbox to straight up clank with Min Min's arms and beat them. Or he can jump and throw the banana, which will go through Min Min's arms due to the banana's transcendent properties. Diddy Kong also has good matchups against other common characters, such as Kazuya, Palutena, and Joker. So far, I've pretty much just sung Diddy Kong's praises, but rest assured, the character does have some pretty poor matchups that can really give him a hard time. Two of these characters are Pac-Man and Duck Hunt. Both of them are zoners, who cover mid-range extremely well, which Diddy typically thrives at. Both characters have multiples of projectiles, meaning Diddy has to heavily commit to get any sort of hit, as both characters are going to be hiding behind their projectiles. This makes Banana a much less reliable tool in these matchups, as he just struggles to hit them with it. Pac-Man and Duck Hunt can also take Banana for themselves and hide behind their projectiles, which takes away Diddy's best approach option, making it even harder for him to get in versus them. Diddy's poor airspeed doesn't help either, as their projectiles can catch landings even if he monkey flips away. So in these matchups, you're very much relying on your opponent to make an error, as unfortunately, that's the best way for Diddy Kong to get anything started. Fox can also be problematic for Diddy, as he's very good at suffocating him. Diddy Kong wants to stay at more mid-range, so he can threaten opponents with the banana and whiff punish. But Fox kinda just ignores this, as his movement and pressure allows him to get in versus Diddy easily. When Diddy's in disadvantage, Fox can chase him down and easily punish landings, and due to Fox's speed, he's a huge threat if he takes Banana away from Diddy, and uses it for himself. And finally, we have everyone's favourite character, Steve. Steve's walls just completely shut down Diddy's game plan, as building walls means he can't approach with Banana or mix up and approach with monkey flip kick. And Steve is able to farm for resources easily with little threat. He can also struggle to recover, as blocks can outright just stop his recovery. To quote one of the messages I received about the matchup, Diddy Kong has to literally be Jesus Christ himself to have the foresight to outplay some of the ad hoc bullshit off stage. And you know what? I couldn't have said it any better myself. So I think there's a pretty good argument to consider Diddy Kong as the most buffed character in Smash Ultimate. Going from an underwhelming character on release to a top 10 character in the current meta, Diddy has had quite the progressive journey. There are also other characters such as Sheik and Ryu who were pretty weak early into Ultimate and then received strong buffs over time, but I don't think anyone has quite consistently peaked as high as Diddy Kong. As of the release of this video, Diddy's leading rep, Tweak, has announced he is on a prolonged break with Ultimate, meaning the character might not see as high peaks as he once did before. But with a strong player base and the character still performing well at events across the world, I don't think Diddy Kong is dropping out of the meta anytime soon.